Very pleased to be here with you. And we're going, we have been working for, for a market survey about three markets that we think that they're quite interesting. Chile, South Korea, and the United States. So what I'm going to do now is just to introduce the main features of our survey. They're very big, they're very long. Every one of them is more than 100 and something pages. So what I'm going just to point out are the main features of the markets, the main possibilities, and the main aspects that could be interesting for firms, European firms that want really to go abroad and to go to these markets. So we're going to begin with Chile, then South Korea, and then United States. The surveys are going to have approximately the same contents. And of course, as I told you before, there's a lot of information that you can read quietly and peacefully. And so I'm just going to talk about the highlights. So we're going to see things like more or less the country profile, trends in the sector, some things about consumer behavior, potential distribution channels, location for marketing, e-commerce, commercial obstacles, circular economy, sustainability, gender, SDG, digitization, and so let's begin with Chile. So that Chile is one of the most interesting economies in Latin America. Though it's not the biggest country in terms of surface, it's very important in terms of economy. Its population, it's about 17 million people, and about a quarter of them could be considered somehow children or young people. Though the income per capita is not very high if we compare this to the other two markets that we are going to see, in the region, the income per capita is relatively high. The only problem is that, as you know, it's not a very equal society. And so this really is hiding inequalities in terms of salaries and incomes. Though there is a strong middle class, if we compare this country with the rest of the countries in Latin America, but of course, nothing to do with countries like Europe or South Korea or even the United States. It's a relatively small but a strong economy. And as the rest of the countries, all level of the countries really, and they are becoming an aging population because the fertility rate is declining all over these countries. We have in the survey, you will see a lot of information. You can read a lot of detailed information, but in general, we have taken into consideration the main aspects for some of the most important products for children. So regarding the toy market, there's a variety of demand and offer. It's a sector, it's a market that is going to grow about 7 to 10% until 2027. And it has the fifth largest toy market in South America. So of course, bigger countries in South America or Latin America, of course, bigger in terms of quantity, but maybe not so much in terms of quality. Regarding clothing and footwear, the market is growing too. It's expected to grow, in about $50 million in a period of about 13 years. And what is important for us is that the price levels are really growing in recent years. So it's becoming, the average ticket is rising and rising, what makes it be really more interesting for us as a market. The children's footwear market is especially growing. And people love especially practicality and comfortability. And so the practical issues are more important sometimes than aesthetics, though of course the line and design is also important. So I think it's a moderate country regarding the power of these products, but it's increasing and it's being increasingly demanding, and the situation is getting closer and closer to the European markets. Regarding books, they're growing a lot, but Spanish books or books in Spanish are growing, especially coming from Spain, though they import books from the rest of the countries of the area. But there is even a market for English books. This sector is growing, and it's one of the most important countries in Latin America regarding books. And regarding furniture, there are main players there, companies like Walmart, Costco, Home Depot, that are international. Those of you that are familiar with this distribution system can feel quite familiar because they have a big market share. Regarding food market, it's really a huge market which is really growing, and the most striking fact that they spend a lot on average on food during pregnancy. And this is the third one, though it's very astonishing that Argentina and Peru really spend more than Chile. But anyway, it's the third one. Another trait that can be interesting to know is that there are small, a small upper class and a very small one. And then there are big differences in Chile because it's a very liberal country where the differences in terms of class is important. And and what are the main levers, the main factors for children? Uh, they're really influenced by participants, but okay. Aina, maybe you can. Okay, that's okay. So,
Done.
so advertising is quite important, and and the YouTube users for children is really, really important. One of the highest consumption of Chile, and the vast majority, most parents, about 89 of Chilean children are using this platform, and they are highly influenced. So there are new trends that make this market to become very similar to the European one. So it's in the process of being very similar to Europe, and that is what it makes quite interesting in terms of growth. The consumers here in regarding the kind of products that we are offering, it's important in terms of electronics, and brand awareness is quite important in a lot of products. Advertising really is very impressive. They follow the global trends. Cartoons, celebrities are important, and brand name is it's less important. So if we compare this with South Korea or even the United States, which are different, brand awareness is not so important. The important thing is passion, popular characters, and especially advertising. The most trusted brands for Chilean children are like in the rest of the world, they are influenced by foreign firms. So they're quite influential. And then regarding imports, Chile is a very exporting country, and for importing, they import food or books from Spain. And one of the very important thing is that we have agreement with between Chile and the European Union, and so the tariff is zero, what helps really imports and exports from this country. Here you can see a chart with the different tariff codes and the value of imports. And so you can see that the main supplier is always China, but pay attention that China may be the origin, but maybe the brand of the product comes from China, but maybe it's not really a Chinese firm, the one really this selling the products. But for toys, China and the United States, clothing and footwear, China, food, Argentina, Brazil, because food is really influenced by logistical reasons. Furniture from China and Brazil, and books for students, especially Spain, and in English from the United States and Malta. Regarding distribution channels, the most important thing is that they mostly buy supermarkets and hypermarkets. Walmart is present, and Falabella, which is from this area, from Latin America, it's from Chile, is very important. They have almost 100% of the market share. The electronic commerce is gaining influence, but it is still low in comparison to Europe. And furniture, most sales are made offline, and especially in the channels of distribution. Age is very important, and so older people, of course, love shopping at the distribution centers, conventional, but younger people prefer department stores, mini markets, and some of them that is growing through e-commerce. Santiago has the most people, and the vast part of the economy in Chile is located in Santiago, but there are some other alternative places that can be very interesting in the north, especially the Antofagasta region, where the income is superior to the average. And then there are other very important locations that can be really important and not so saturated as Concepcion and Valparaiso that are growing. Regarding e-commerce, as I told you before, they use, of course, all means, and they buy mainly the kind of things that most people in the world really buy the most, like clothing, shoes, and electronics. So they have a very standard profile. Books are usually sold in bookstores, not so much on the internet. And they have some marketplaces which are quite important. That there's one of them which comes from Argentina, which is very active, like Mercado Libre, but they have other like Falabella, which is very similar to Walmart, and that is very important. So it's growing, but the average spending per internet user would be about $842, which is quite interesting in comparison to the rest of the countries in Latin America. And Zara or Bershka from Inditex from Spain are quite important, but the children's clothing really is sold mostly on big department stores or high sophisticated supermarkets, especially. And that's why the traditional profile really, I think they have a very traditional profile regarding the distribution of the vast majority of the products that we have been studying. The e-commerce anyway is growing at a pace of 23% in 2021, and as I told you before, the profile is very similar to the kind of things that they buy, very similar to Europe. As commercial obstacles, we should point out that bureaucracy is very high. I suppose that it's part of the Spanish heritage. You need to notarize a lot of documents. You have to get what they say RUT, R-U-T, without this number, which is very complicated to get. You cannot do anything inside the country. legislation could, ban foreign companies to, go to some tenders. And so there's a small degree of protectionism regarding, in comparison with the rest, but in fact there is. And there's some certification, but not very requiring, very demanding regarding security or safety. For instance, textiles and shoes that do not require prior certification. And the main important thing, or the main obstacle, I would say, is price. So prices are quite low. They are not very high because of their income. And I think that's one of the most important things you have to consider when going to Chile. Regarding circular economy, just to point out that they're committed, and they of course they have something, as you can see in the photograph, like the largest garment dump in the world, in the Atacama, this desert. And but the recycling of toys is getting more important. There are official campaigns to recycle, and there are firms that recycle toys, textile, and footwear. And they are really quite interested, sorry, in sustainability. And so the score of this country is quite high. So they have many laws to promote sustainability. There are a lot of firms that work in this sector. Children are aware of this. At the school, they are taught about sustainability, and ranks really very high in comparison to other countries in Latin America. And regarding gender, they are not really in a very top position. They promote gender equality. There's a global trend for the non-separation of toys by gender. There are campaigns, very impressive and very popular, but it depends on, in the market, it depends on the product. For instance, for the children's clothing sector, the gender difference is still significant. And as we will see right now, with South Korea or the United States, where, unisex and no gender, clothing, apparel is more important. In this case, this is not really so advanced as in other countries. Regarding the SDG, Chile is one of the developed countries most committed to sustainability. That's something that is really striking. They are very good. They have a lot of laws to promote sustainability. Companies really are very worried about recycling products, and they have, a superior position in the ranking in comparison to the United States. And as you can see, they are doing quite well in reducing poverty or clean energy, renewable energies, for instance. Sustainability in communities, really, their score really is very high. So I think that in general, this is a very positive fact. Digitization is not so advanced, and in the rest of the countries, especially in the other two that we're going to analyze. But digital economy has been boosted by the COVID pandemic, and though they don't invest much in R&D, but they are using more and more the digital means, though the quality of access was not optimal sometimes, and not in all the regions, not all in all the countries. Well, just to summarize and to go to the next country, I would say that Chile, in general, I think that it's an emerging country where European products in general are accepted, where investment is not too high for access, where of course you have to have a good combination of differentiation and price, because they are price sensitive, and where their European heritage is very strong. And so it's a promise of future. It's the center of South America. They invest and they influence the rest of the countries. They're very influential in Peru. They're very influential in Argentina. And in general, they are one of the most proactive country, in this area. So this is the profile, and you have more information and more content in the survey. Okay. If you have any question about this, please just ask me, or if you want, I can proceed and go to the second country, and then maybe you can compare. But if you have right now any question, or did you prefer, of course, at the end, we're going to answer all the questions that you could have.
Hi, David.
Yes.
This is René speaking. I just have a question that was not 100% clear for me. Is that the market concentration is on hypermarkets channel is the main sell channel you identify?
You're absolutely right. They use conventional distribution channels, and there's a strong degree of concentration. There are, very few actors that are the most important one. This is a typical Latin American profile. And so that's why the degree of competition is high for suppliers. Yes, that is one of the most important obstacle. Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your question. Is any question, or should we go on? Okay, let's go on. If you have any additional question, please, at the end. So let's go with South Korea. Well, the structure is very similar. We're going just to highlight the most important things regarding this country. Okay, so South Korea is a small country in terms of surface. Oh, Gabriela, okay. But it's highly populated. So it has about 52 million inhabitants, which is quite high. The number of children is really very small, because they have a declining situation regarding, fertility rate. There's a decreasing number of children. But sorry about that, only 10% of population. And the usual family has 0 children, 1, exceptionally 2, and never more than 2. Never. So it's very, and so that's something that could, that in principle, it's not very pleasant. But the good thing about this is that they invest a lot of money in children. That's the good thing about this. And that their economy is growing and growing, and it's quite sophisticated. So it has distinctive traits that make it be quite interesting. So, for instance, regarding toy market, the most popular ones are the educational toys. So they love science, robotics, and all this kind of toys. So they have a big share. The annual growth rate of toys market is quite constant, and is growing, about 4% every year. And the good thing about this is that they have a tendency to buy good quality toys. They love quality and safety, and they don't care about the money. So this profile is completely different from the Chilean profile. So they don't have so much money, though of course your prices should be competitive enough, but they are quite, they respect, they love, they prefer quality and safety before price. It's very important, the concept of kidult, and this is something that we're going to see in the United States too. So there's a segment that is growing a lot, that is, people, older, not so young people, so people more than 70 years old, that love to buy toys. And this is increasing a lot, maybe because of nostalgia, or maybe because they really love them. And so this is a very important part of the market that I think you should consider. And then they follow, the trends, and so they want to be, very aware of the last, cartoon, or the last character, on TV, especially. For clothing and footwear market, they they really estimate high quality fashion and aesthetics. And in terms of, for instance, for children's shoes, they love playful patterns like bright colors, original designs. And again, every item that has been assessed, we get the same information, the same message, that they prioritize quality over price. Uh, and national brands, for especially for clothing, are quite important and stronger in children's clothing, and not so much in women's or men's clothing, where they more open to international brands. But for national brands, they prefer, national brands, because of their feeling that national items are more safe and that are more reliable than foreign products. And the e-commerce is very important for clothing and footwear. We are going to see South Korea is one of the most developed countries in terms of e-commerce after China. As I always say, China is the future. I have a lot of Chinese students, and I teach them how to go to the international markets through the internet, and they teach me. I teach them Google, this kind of tools that they don't know, but they teach me. And South Korea, it has the same profile, but they live in the future regarding e-commerce, and it's very, very important. And especially social e-commerce. So social commerce platforms are very important because they are highly influenced by influencers. Books, though they don't read so much as in China or Spain, for instance, where 32% of people say that they read every day, only 13% of people really read every day, according to the last surveys that are available. But there's a big opportunity in English books because they all want to learn English, and but they require high quality design, and they must be really appealing, especially to children. Regarding furniture, they look for high quality materials, solid wood, plywood, resistant plastic, and they follow the trends in the fashions. And now the last fashion in South Korea is minimalism, and it's very powerful now. They're looking for minimalism in the furniture. Regarding food market, for them, it's very important, healthy, organic, nutritious products. This sector is going to grow a lot, and baby food is really very important, and its size is really impressive. So they spend a lot of money in food for babies, and especially organic and healthy. And please consider that 70% of food in South Korea in general is imported. So they are not able to produce the food that they really need. So their inclination towards importing food is for them really very high. So the food market, following these rules, is a very good opportunity for the European industry. Regarding consumer behavior, something that is really astonishing is that they have a strong preference for locally made. So the 64% of South Korean consumers prefer to buy locally, according to the last surveys. This doesn't mean that they are not going to consume foreign products, but they must be accepted by Koreans. This is very interesting phenomenon, and quite representative of this market. They are willing to buy from overseas, but what they are going to buy must be previously accepted by Koreans. This is quite interesting because you cannot go there without the approval of the market, and you have to get approval of the market, and that makes like a circle that could be somehow complicated if you don't have local partner to introduce your product. That's why local partnerships are so important. Safety is important for them. The aesthetics, the line, the design of things in general, sustainable products for them. They're really very conscious about this. The score is the highest regarding sustainability, as we're going to see now in these three countries. And though young people really, use YouTube and social networks, the impact of TV advertising is the one that is really most important regarding other media. So the vast majority of people really are influenced by advertising and by influencers. So the younger the population, the most affected by brands. Brand for them is very important. They are very faithful before the brands, and they are influenced by artists, musicians. Sorry, people from sport, all that. So, for instance, toys, in this case, are very influenced by this, and they usually buy toys. For instance, 60% of consumers bought toys online. So from 100% of people buying toys, 60% bought them online. So online channels really are important. So this combination of online, brand, influencers, approval by Korea makes a very sophisticated market with a lot of possibilities, but really very complicated. So almost 70% of Korea's toys are imported from other countries. I told you before, food had the same proportion. And China is Korea's largest merchandise trade partner. The good thing for our products is that they have 0%. We have an agreement, a preferential rate agreement, and for all our products, as you can see in detail in our market study, you will see that they have 0% of duty, and that means that the tariff is so good that it has possibilities. And so the important thing is not so much costs, but strategy, brand, and offer, quality of offer. Here you have a summary of the value of imports of every major chapter. This is only a summary, as I told you, and the main providers. So regarding toy market, the main suppliers are China, Japan, and the United States. For apparel and footwear, China and Vietnam. For food, China, the United States, Germany, and France. So food is really very important. I think it's one of the most interesting, niche. And they, at the moment now, the amount of product coming from Europe is quite high. For furniture, of course, China, Vietnam, but also the United States, and books for children, especially China. So in summary, the volume of imports, the market of import is very high because they have, for these products, they have a highly importers profile. But the problem is that, of course, they're very close to China. And so there's a lot of product coming from China. Again, I must point out that maybe in the statistics, products are subscribed or ascribed to China, but it doesn't mean that the brand or the actor or the supplier really is from Chinese origin. This is only a question of where the product is manufactured and from this point transported to the South Korean market. And so I think so that this open profile to imports is really important. About European products, they consider them to be of high value because the design is very apt for them, because they love this design, the materials are considered that they're good, and sometimes, the brands have prestige. And so I think that's something that it helps us. Online channels really are very important. There's a marketplace called Coupang that is really like Amazon. It's very important there. And the revenue by online toy sales is impressive. And the social commerce platforms can be a door to get into the market. Social commerce, getting influencers really as the means, the most practical means really to get accepted in the Korean market and society. And regarding offline, the channels are again department stores. Some of them are national, some others are international. For instance, for toys are as is present at a supermarket, convenience store, all kind of distribution, systems, and this is something that you can. Okay. Then here you have some different places. You know that Seoul and the Busan port are really very important. The first and the second, cities in South Korea. Then only to e-commerce, I have mentioned some facts about e-commerce, but they're really very high. I think more than the percentage of consumers using internet for their purchases is about 92%. So nearly everybody in South Korea buys from the internet, and that's why internet is an open door. Of course, the kind of things that they buy from the internet as anywhere in the it's clothing, shoes, and toys and baby products, 7%. The most important commercial obstacles are the intellectual property protection, because they have strong intellectual property laws, and the cultural barriers. They prefer locally made. As I told you before, you have to adapt labels, you have to adapt the language, and there are requirements for some products, especially regarding security and quality. And other things that maybe can be obstacles is that if you don't have a differentiated product, you're not going to be easily accepted, and sometimes you need big investment to access, and sometimes distribution channels cannot be so easy apart from the e-commerce. Regarding circular economy, the government is really proactive in terms of toys. The government has been encouraging the use of eco-friendly materials in the clothing sector. Circular and economic practice really have been very, very important. Furniture is emerging now, recycling or renting furniture. There are a lot of firms that are involved in this, and it has a very important position, and it's one of the leading countries after Europe. And regarding sustainability, the market is very conscious about this. About 70% of European Korean consumers consider environmental social impact when making purchasing decisions. They want to pay more for sustainable products. There's a big market for eco-friendly products, and it's growing a lot. And there's a high rate of recycling, and so there are a lot of opportunities in this aspect. Regarding gender, there is a promotion of gender equality, though of course, like everywhere, there is a gap between the income of men and women, but they are progressing in this sense. And in terms of product, it's very striking that there's a big demand of gender inclusive fashion, unisex fashion. And so even big musicians or groups like BTS, which is very famous all over the world, they promote this kind of fashion. So it's trendy. And I think this is a big opportunity for European products, because they are trying to blur the differences in fashion between men and women. So they are fighting for against inequality, and so the market is reacting very positively. Before that, regarding SDG, as you can see, they are very good. They're very active, And this is the kind of areas that you can read in the survey where they are better. And of course, Chile has a very good profile, but Korea is very close to them. It has a balanced situation among all different SDG. And digitization, everything is digitized in terms of consumer production, everything. These robots, of course, there's a lot of influence of digital world in Korea. Okay, so in summary, and then I go to the United States, the rest of the 3 countries. I would say that it's a very demanding and requiring market where you need to be accepted, where Korean should feel like at home. But that's the bad thing about this. But the good thing is that they spend a lot. They are really, they consume a lot. They are easily influenced. That means that if you're lucky, so you're going to sell a lot. Price is not so important like in other countries. If your offer is differentiated, if you don't have differentiation, maybe price is going to be a problem as in any other country. But if your product is differentiated, that could be good. And then there are digital means that can help you introduce your product in this market. So if you their SDG and circular economy profile and gender profile offer new possibilities for products that really are in this line. So these last aspects are really very important. It can be a source of opportunities. If there is any question about South Korea.
We have in the chat one comment from Gabriela that I think it's very interesting. Maybe you can start with the answer.
Yes, I'm reading it. Yes, China is one of the main providers in terms of quantity, of amount, because there are a lot of things that don't belong to our sectors that are first need, and they come from China because they want, in this case, price. So non-differentiated products come from China. Differentiated products come from your multinationals established in China or from other countries. That's why, for instance, in terms of food, that is something that is very difficult to be produced in China with high standards of quality. As you can see, there's a big demand or in terms of suppliers from the United States or from Europe. Okay, thank you. Any additional question? Okay, so let's go on with the United States, and then again, we can answer questions with the perspective of the 3 markets. Now, okay. So United States. So all of you know the United States, very popular, and so there are a lot of things that are very common. So I'm going, in this case, maybe it's more familiar for you, and so I will go more in depth in particular things. So, for instance, of course, you know that it's a very big country with more than 300 million inhabitants. And of course, the birth rate is declining a lot. You can see in this graph that it has a common phenomenon as in Europe. But the good thing, of course, that the GDP is very high, as you know, higher than in the average in Europe. And they are the first still. They are the first superpower in the world. And their GDP is growing. You know that they are constantly growing their economy. They don't face any problem. When there is a crisis, they are very fast to overcome the crisis. So that's something that makes this country really very interesting. And if we focus on the toy market, the United States is the second country spending the most on toys per child after the United Kingdom, and now it's growing. And well, there are different surveys, and now we're not very clear if it's the first one. So even before the United Kingdom, so it depends on the source. Maybe it can be the first one in the world. and it's been increasing during the last years till reaching the amount of 36 billion United States dollars. So it's huge. It's impressive. And the revenues of the sales in the toy market have increased 30% before, if we compare the numbers before the COVID pandemic. Of course, there are some products that are more popular, like plush toys. Of course, it's experienced the biggest growth in 32%. And then action figures, construction sets, and accessories with 12 or 10%. Exploratory toys and other toys, 10%. So they're not so fond of robots as in South Korea. They're more conventional. So one of the main traits of the United States, for me, I'm advancing this, is that it's such a big market that you can get a place for any segment. So it's a very comprehensive market, and there's a niche and a segment for different kinds of products in general. You will see during my presentation, during my summary. Outdoor and sports toys and dolls have a decrease as the only one, and they follow, of course, the trends. Pokemon, for instance, very important. Star Wars, Barbie, Marvel, so the classical. And the average American family, not per children, but family, spends around more than $500, nearly $600 a year on toys. So, but these figures are compared in the survey, and so you can see really the right figures there. Regarding clothing and footwear market, unisex clothing is gaining popularity again, like in South Korea, an increase of 27%. It's a really important opportunity in these two markets. And then people really buy online. So Amazon or Walmart, Shine or DSW are really very important for this kind of sales in general, for adults and for children. The size of the children's footwear market is really impressive, and there are strong brands that really have the power, like Adidas, New Balance, Nike. But there are also smaller players, and so there are a lot of niche players in the United States. They're not so homogeneous as in other countries like South Korea. The main thing about the United States market is that they follow fashion. Popular culture is very important for them, but they at the same time take into consideration the technological advancements. So it's a combination of trends, fashion, technology, sustainability. Sustainable fashion is growing too, and in principle, the market is growing a lot. Fast fashion retailers, for instance, reported a drop since 2020 of 26%. So it's growing a lot. And 55% of consumers showed interest in sustainable brand in 2020. Sustainability, again, is a very important niche. Regarding the food market, the book sector is highly competitive. It's a superpower regarding books. And I think that it's very difficult to compete in this market, though they import and they buy and they read a lot. But of course, they import, and especially in languages. So for the main languages, I think there's a niche, a very important niche. For instance, books written in Spanish, for instance, I have a very important opportunity there. And regarding furniture, IKEA, Rooms to Go, Home Store, there are a lot of big distributors. They adapt smart home technology much more than in Europe. And furniture online and market side is really very big and growing. About food market, we could say that it's very big, that there are a lot of popular brands and that they focus again on healthy organic products for children, gluten-free, vegetarian options. And I think it's so big that there's a place for any kind of differentiated product-related food, written food. So food really, it's easy. It's something that it presents a lot of opportunities because differentiation is very important, and we can offer differentiated products and high quality products from Europe. We have really a very good concept of them. They have a very good concept of them, and so and the image is really very good. The organic food is getting market share. It's already about 15% of total baby food sales in the United States. Regarding the consumer behavior, again, there are niche for everybody, and specifically kidult. It's like in South Korea. So Lego, for instance, has offered for kidult, and they have a big share of in this kind of products, and they can be new nostalgia items or even new products items following patterns and updated trends and fashions. So adults are a very good point to focus because children, of course, are diminishing, but these can be balanced, compensated by this other segment. Yeah, for children product, they're price sensitive. It doesn't mean that they don't value quality. They take this for granted, but they compare prices. So you have to offer a good combination of good product and good price. It's not like in South Korea where they, of course, they have a strong tendency towards only quality. And there's another interesting thing is that they are changing since the COVID. It has been observed that the American consumer is more apt to change from one brand to other. That they're more, apt to change. They're not so faithful as they used to be, and so they are trying to, to buy new foods. The pandemic has, has influenced the American consumer psychology, and so most of them, there are different phenomena in terms of labor and in terms of culture, and one effect is their bigger openness. So they prefer to be now more open to new things. That's a good opportunity for new actors in the market. And for children's book, there's a strong demand now of games and toys, books, educational games that promote cognitive development. They are in high demand. There's something that we have in Europe. We know this phenomenon, but in the United States, really, it represents a good opportunity. Though another thing, this is quite general, but what I'm seeing during the survey is that the United States has a different, that there are like two different United States. On the one hand, the official one, and on the other hand, people, consumer. So, for instance, the country has a low score regarding environmental issues or sustainability, for instance, but people are concerned about this. So there's like cognitive dissonance, I think that's the name, a dissociation between really what we see from the government and what we can see if we go to the market. So people are really concerned about environmental issues. Then children, for instance, are influenced by YouTube. Most of them, nearly all of them, really use YouTube as their main source of information in on the course TikTok or Instagram too, but YouTube is the most important source of information and of yes, or TV instead of TV watching. And the influencers so are very important because of the means. The YouTube comes with influencers, and so influencers are very important in children desires and tastes. Movie placement is very important, and brands usually interfere with movies and with cartoons and with cultural products because they have a mutual influence. So big brands have a strong production in terms of cultural audiovisual products. If we attend to the import potential, of course, that United States is the main importer in the world, and only this country represents 13% of world imports. And the main things that they import are cars, clothing, medicines, furniture, and toys. Toys is one of the most important items in their imports in numbers. And what about the tariffs? This is the worst country of the three that we have been studying because we don't have an agreement with the United States, and so taxes can vary from 10 to 17% of the items that we have been taking into consideration. And of course, for the details, you can read them for your concrete HS code in the in the survey, the market study. But this is one of the problems that we can face when we export to the United States. Due to the global disruption of supply chains, that's very important. The number of products manufactured within the United States borders really is increasing. So they are avoiding shipping delays, cargo problem, and the degree of dependence on China, because they were really dependent on China in terms of products. And so there's like industrialization in the United States. It's not so big, it's not so important as people may think, but the effects are clear. And these are the main suppliers for the different categories. So China, for instance, is the most important for toy market, though France is relevant for this, 32-13. Clothing and footwear, China and Vietnam. For food, closer countries like Canada or Mexico, but Singapore and Italy are also important. For furniture, China, India, Pakistan, and Mexico, and books for children, China and Canada. So again, China, it has been during the last years, really the country where people have been manufactured in general, but it doesn't mean that all these are Chinese brands. So there's a lot of European and North American production manufactured in China. Okay. Regarding distribution channels, there's a differentiation between older customer and younger customers. So older customers, of course, they prefer to touch and try products. And so Walmart is the leader in offline retail, though Walmart has been really very successful in online retail too. But of course, for offline, it's the most important one. But younger consumers prefer technology and they prefer to buy online. Regarding toys, 1/3 of the United States parents shop toys and games exclusively online, only online. And it's estimated that it's going to increase a lot. Of course, that much of the product, many of the products really are sold the department stores like Walmart, Target, Costco, and physical stores. But as I told you, really it's increasing the degree. It's increasing really very much. The purchases online, and it's a big opportunity. Well, here you have some information that's going to go into this, but now there are subsidies, grants, and the studies about where to settle your firm regarding the strength of any of these factors. So this is something that you can read. I'll skip this. And so regarding e-commerce, the United States is the second country in the world after China, the second market for e-commerce. It's really high, impressive. And there has been an increase of 22% only 1 year in 2021. And the forecast is to grow about 14% between 2021 and 2025. The average purchase is around 3 items at the same time. And Amazon has more than 50% of the share regarding e-commerce retail sales. So it's really very impressive, Amazon, how important it is for American, much more than in Europe. And these are, you can have information about toys and baby online shopping by brand. And the main brands, Lego is quite important, and that's something interesting for you, as it's a European origin firm, and it opens a lot of doors and possibilities for other firms in Europe into this country. Okay, so regarding the kind of things that are more usual for them to buy, clothing and shoes as in any mature country, and toys and baby products, about 14% of the products belong to this category. So it's very big and growing. I think that the kind of products that we are offering, clothing, shoes, food, toys, and all this kind of stuff is a result on e-commerce, and it represents the highest opportunity. Regarding commercial obstacles, there are problems. There are problems because you have to register imported goods. Customs are quite demanding, quite hard. They are really tough. In principle, this is because they want to protect the North American consumer, but in fact, they are safeguard. They are protectionist, highly protectionist. And so this is really a bit complicated, but it's not impossible. You can get permits. For children, they're especially, hard because they want products to be certified, to be imported by the Children's Product Certificate, or CPC. And it's a very sophisticated and highly competitive sector in general, because Amazon, Toys R Us, or Disney, and so on, they're very important. And regulations, intellectual property rights, high import cost, and so on. So it has a lot of opportunities, but it's a bit hard. Regarding circular economy, this is not so important in the other countries. In principle, there are some political, initiatives in some states that have been very popular. There are a lot of companies that volunteer, opt for this circular economy, but in general, they are not really involved in circular economy if we compare to the United States. Regarding sustainability, though people really are prepared to pay more sustainable products, 64%, 78% of individuals are more likely to purchase product that is really marked as environmentally friendly. This is different from politics. So that's why I told you that I think that in the part of the market, really, people are interested in sustainability, people are interested in circularity, people are interested in, in buying things that are really ethical or, environmentally friendly. And so we don't have to be confused about really the fact. So as a country, they're not so advanced as in Europe or even in South Korea or in Chile, but really the market, people, the consumers really are interested in this. Younger people are even more interested. 73% of millennials are willing to pay more for sustainable brands, and 55% of consumers are interested in buying sustainable fashion. So there's a big degree of interest in this kind of product, though the politicians doesn't follow this. Do not follow this. Okay, about gender, they are very, I would say they should improve regarding this. Of course, there's a gap, big gap regarding gender equality, but people consider themselves to be feminist, 61%. Children begin to adjust to gender stereotypes from the age of 2. They're exposed to gender inequalities, but 60% of American mothers prefer to buy products without gender stereotypes for their children. And unisex clothing, again, is gaining popularity, not so much as in South Korea, but it's gaining more and more popularity. And this is the score of the United States for SDG. So as you can see, they should improve. They're not really very good. In principle, they're making some efforts regarding the basic things like clean water. That's something that's very easy, and innovation. But regarding, for instance, reducing inequalities, they're quite bad. Or regarding responsible consumption and production, which is one of the most important things that is affecting our offer, European offer, they're quite bad. But as I told you before, it's different what people think and what politicians do. And so regarding digitization, the impact of this factor is very big, even in younger ages for children. There are digital versions of traditional toys like Monopoly or Scrabble, and there are a lot of companies that are introducing digital technology, not only in production, but in the final result, in the product. So my final summary about the United States is that from my point of view, it's a huge market. It offers a lot of opportunities. There's a space for different kinds of products. If you have a product that is good for South Korea, you are going to get a niche in the United States. If you have a more conventional product, you're going to get a niche in the United States if it's differentiated. And the United States has something different from South Korea, is that the economies of scale can be got in a better way, because you can invest in a bigger country, and your investment in this country is really going to be good for other countries, even for South Korea. So the economies can be, and then there's a niche for European products as they are. The only thing again is that you have to have differentiated offer, but that is something that I have all these 3 markets have in common, and I would suggest you to work with differentiating your own products and offer to vindicate the European origin. All these countries, these 3 countries, are really interested in Europe, and they have a very good opinion about European products. In principle, they are considered to be really highly valuable, of high quality, good design. So the European origin must be vindicated, and your offer must be differentiated. I think that if you can combine these 2 things, I think, and if you think in long-term, point of view, your mindset is not short-sighted, and if you collaborate, I think that this cooperation really is very important, because you need to be strong enough. The United States is huge. Sometimes the European firms, even I'm not talking only in the southern countries of Spain, but even in the northern countries where firms are bigger, but they're not big enough for the United States, because they are only one country. So their firms are the high scale design. And so if you cooperate, you can not only share costs of access, but be more interesting to your actors there at destination, and to be able to establish close partnerships with people that can help you into this market. I think that could be especially applied to the United States, though I think that this advice, this recommendation is good for the 3 countries in general. Okay, so it's time finished. And so if you have any additional question, please, I will be very happy to answer.